Hi, everybody. It's Linda G with our favorite guy about town, Sterling.
Nice to be here on a beautiful Sunday, a Super Bowl Sunday. So good to be here.
Because you're down in the area that the Super Bowl is going to be. What's the heat going to be like?
I think they said there's going to be a heat advisory today. So it gets in the early, the low 90s or something, but they said it's going to be a heat advisory. So
it's 70s up here. 74 will be the highest. It gets really cold at night. Are you guys real cold at night?
Yeah, it is. It shifts back and forth. It's like summertime during the day, and it's like, fall, winter at night. Yeah.
Is that Coliseum, is it covered or?
It is, but it's also got an open top that slides open. So it's got both. But, if it's 95 degrees out, you're going to feel it in the stadium. That's for sure. They said it might be the hottest Super Bowl they've ever had, something like that. So
that's what they're saying. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll be watching it. You too. And thank you to Linda and Dan for pulling up our questions.
Absolutely.
Okay. Does Metatron have a message for us?
He does. And, Metatron's an archangel, right? And he actually is the scribe for the Akashic records. So I talk to him all the time. But what's interesting was on this Sunday, what he wanted to get across was because, first off, he wanted to make it clear he doesn't write everything in the Akashic records. A lot of it goes in there automatically, but he does. He's a steward of it. And he wanted to assure everybody that because he has access to it, past, present, future, that everybody to kind of more or less relax. We're going through some military strife. We're going through some political strife. The earth survives, so he wanted to assure everybody that he's watching over the records, and he communicates with a number of people on the planet, including you and I, Linda, you and I. Yay! So he makes it clear whenever he has to get a message out, he pushes it out.
Okay.
And that everybody should just kind of, be calm and keep moving forward, and these strifes will end. This too shall end, so to speak.
Yes, I heard that all the time. This too shall pass. Yeah,
exactly. And you just want to kind of say hello to everybody. So there you go.
Okay, that's good news. I mean, it's a tough time, but we're learning. I think we're vibrationally getting higher.
Right.
Will the bill to limit stock buying by legislators pass? Will it apply to the spouses of legislators? Oh, good point.
Yes, I get 100% by the midterm elections or right after the midterm elections, they're going to pass something here. And all of this is driven off the fact that a lot of insider trading went on around the COVID pandemic. So different, congressional individuals knowing what vaccine was going to get approved or what supply chains would get hit hard because of the pandemic. So they're going to stop all that insider trading. So they will have new legislation coming out. They will by the end of this year.
Oh my God. Okay. So, but spouses too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
This is good. This is good. Those two that lost in Georgia were all in that.
By the way, I think Dianne Feinstein is leading the charge too in that area.
Really? Because she had some stock.
Yeah. I last I heard, I think she was one of a group of like half a dozen senators that were pushing for the law. Yeah.
Okay. Will the Canada truckers strike have a domino effect and the USA truckers start doing the same thing?
They will, but what's interesting is it's going to be more of a controlled extent. So it's kind of pandemonium up in Canada. And I do see there's a lot of legal enforcement coming around the US, even parts of Canada. They're going to open up all the bridges again. But you'll see protests here in the US with the truckers, but it's going to be slightly different, it'll be much more spread out. So
right. And I see military or whatever we need to get right on it, just right on it.
Right.
These other people were sitting there for the longest time.
Exactly.
But they're in there now with tow trucks. They're moving them. They're arresting them. They're getting them out.
Right.
Recently, there was volcanic activity near Bend, Oregon. Should we be concerned?
Well, it looks like the latter part of this year, the next year, there's going to be a little minor volcanic activity, but is something kind of similar to I think it was 1980, Mount St. Helens in Washington, blew. And so there's something there where they're connected I don't see catastrophe, but it looks like there's going to be some, I'm going to call it minor eruptions. So I don't see a lot of death and destruction, but
Okay.
I do something connected to how Mount St. Helens blew in 1980. Yeah.
Okay. Congressman, did you see Jamie Raskin's show?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, that was intense. Anyway,
Yeah.
so Congressman Jamie Raskin lost his son, Tom, just before the second impeachment. Tom Raskin has been described as an intelligent, loving, and caring, dedicated, and hardworking person that rallied for just causes. Although beloved by his family and friends, he seemed to be afflicted with depression and took his own life. I have known similar young men in my community, smart, talented, loving, and loved, who nonetheless took their own lives due to depression. Are these souls of special nature? Do they have a special purpose in this life?
100%. So anytime, let me start off by saying this. Anytime someone leaves abruptly and a lot of people loved or cared about that person, or they had high visibility, they leave a spiritual and an emotional wake, like a wake from a boat on the ocean. And that wake is meant to teach people that are left behind a very important lesson about the value of life and principle and love. So yeah, they're here with a special purpose. And then they, especially the ones that have high visibility, they'll leave a strong spiritual and emotional wake. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will New Mexico remain blue after the midterms?
I get yes. And I think, I don't know what their numbers are, but I don't know if they've got 50 or 55 Democrats and 20 or 25 Republicans or something, but looks like it'll still stay blue. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
When I was young, I lived in a small Greek island. My friend who was a doctor took me to a remote area where we could excavate ancient pottery with our hands. We found amazing pieces and took a few broken shards. As we attempted to leave, a powerful wind came and almost swept us off the cliffs. A few hours later, as we got into our boat to leave, the sky turned dark and we had trouble making it to land. I felt that these items were cursed and returned them. What was that?
Well, that was some spiritual interaction, but that was displeasure with what you were doing. So don't think that spiritual energy can't, swell up every once in a while if they're displeased with what you're doing. Say raping the land sometimes, or you're not being helpful with Mother Earth. So those things will happen. So that was some spiritual interaction to say we're not really pleased. Yeah.
All right. Why do I sometimes, here's that number 8. Are humans on Earth the lowest dimensional beings in this universe?
Well, let me phrase it this way. There's a lot of alien and extraterrestrial species that are much more highly evolved than we are. We're down here learning lessons. Animals are part of the angelic realm. Certainly there are insects that are not highly as evolved as humans, but I would tell you that humans down here are in a learning cycle that's a little behind where like extraterrestrials are and people on other planets. So I wouldn't classify them as the lowest form of intelligence, but certainly they're like in graduate school, they're not doing their doctorate yet. So hope that answers the question. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that answers it. Okay, why do I sometimes hear music or voices talking, especially when I'm trying to go to sleep? Very interesting.
Yeah, that's 100% friendly spirits or family members trying to interact with you. So as you relax your logical mind, that's the key. When your logical mind starts to shut off and you start to drift into sleep, that's the easiest time for them. That's a window of opportunity for your relatives and people you loved, even friends that may have passed over, to try to connect with you. Right. And voices or songs are some of the easiest things for them to manipulate. So, yeah.
Okay. The far right has been pushing book banning and voter suppression. Now they are going after teachers, Oklahoma, Indiana, Iowa, etc. Will these states stick together and cause an even greater exodus of teachers?
Well, let me answer the question this way. There's going to be a fairly large exodus of teachers. I don't know if it's like 20% of the overall population of teachers, but I do see it all turning around the end of this year. So I see new legislation coming in that puts funding back in the schools and teacher salaries. So a little bit of a cycle here. So, but
Okay.
so it's going to come back around again by the end of the year. Yeah.
Yeah, because,
Yeah, good.
you know, and then these crazy people being so angry at the teachers, they're not free to do anything. Okay.
Exactly.
Do electrical cars have a bad side effect on our health?
No, but here's a side note. No harmful ill effects other than a couple of attributes of electric cars. So, for example, if you're using autopilot, a lot of electric cars now have autopilot, major accidents with autopilot. And also, many electric cars have extremely high torque, which means that, many a car have crashed in the garage. I mean, if you slightly pedal electric car, they have massive torque and they take off very quickly. So a lot of people getting injured and going off in the ditches with electric cars. So I say no direct problems, but some indirect problems with electric vehicles. Yeah.
Stacey Abrams has apologized for the debacle of her not wearing a mask in her photo with a classroom of kids. Will this cost her at the box office?
No, I mean, it looks like within like 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks, it's all going to die. It's all going to die off.
Right.
So it's
right.
a transitory. And they just told me within weeks it'll die off.
It'll be that good. During our life review, will we gain insight into how we have affected the lives of others? Will we also gain an understanding about how we ended up being the way we are in life?
Absolutely. So
Yep.
it's a 360-degree life lesson. It's like actually, I remember a lot of times some of the theme parks have 360-degree theaters. You walk in the middle of the theater and there are screens all around you. And so that life review is kind of like that. You see how you affected everybody. You see how you got there. You see how you responded. Yeah.
And they have to feel everything. If you've done bad towards others, you'll feel what they felt.
That's all part of the life review. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll point people to that Albert Brooks movie and Meryl Streep, which was Defending Your Life.
I watched that again not too long ago.
There's a real good life review section in there. So it's pretty funny. Yeah.
Right. With the Democratic states announcing this week of removing mask requirements in a few weeks, is it premature to be removing the mask mandates, or is there less concern now with spreading COVID-19?
Well, my team has told me several times, and even right now, that, yeah, it's a little premature because we have 2 more cycles of COVID variants coming. Now, the good news is a lot of people are vaccinated, so you're not going to see the big swings in hospitals and deaths. But the current variant with BA2, and then there's another variant coming probably September, October. So it's a little premature. And for me, it looks like they're telling me the mask mandates will come back. So we'll go through a couple of cycles. Yeah.
I plan on still using the mask because I can.
Yeah, I do.
They're not saying you can't.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay. Energetically, can or does it help for all of us to hold positive thoughts and send good energy towards the Dems in an effort to be successful in the midterms?
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Same way in which prayer works to help people. Sure. So that's kind of tangentially related to prayer. Good thoughts. Sure.
Right.
Absolutely.
Did the National Archive retrieve all the documents that 45 illegally removed? What will be the legal outcome? Was any classified material shared with the wrong people?
Multi-layered question there. We can unpack it. So first off, I'm being told that we have not gathered all the information that was, to say, illegally taken out of the White House. First off, by the way, I'll remember months ago, you and I did a show where people were asking what the white van was doing on the side of the White House. Remember, there's a white van, and it was supposed to be for catering supplies or something. And you and I talked about it. I said, he's removing documents and artifacts. What do you know? The Lincoln bust went missing, right? I think he has the Lincoln bust down at Mar-a-Lago. Did you hear about that?
No.
So that, for me, that was one of the occasions when that white van was on the side of the house where documents left the White House. I'm also being told that he has documents, I'm gonna call a storage location, like a storage locker. So they're not all at Mar-a-Lago. They're like some other remote location, marked as like cooking supplies or something in their papers. And yes, and also just being told there was an insider that tipped off the DOJ and the FBI that said, hey, you may want to check Mar-a-Lago in this area because there's documents there. So that's how they got a search warrant. So yeah, I guess, and I think the last part of that question was, he'll see repercussions from this. He will.
Yes, because he took, and he was up there his biggest day talking about how Hillary Clinton needed to go to jail.
Yeah.
It's illegal. And then he's going to act stupid.
You know,
they can't find the log that January 6th Commission said there's a big gap. They can't find the phone logs.
Yeah, here's, Lindsey Graham was on the news, remember? And, a few years ago when Hillary went through all that, he was there in the Senate. He was professing that it was all illegal and you can't use your personal telephone and what happened, all the emails. And I think yesterday on CNN, they confronted him in the congressional hallway and they said, what do you think about all the documents down Mar-a-Lago? And he said, I have no idea what the policies are in documents. So, I was telling Linda, my wife, I said, it's unbelievable.
It's just, it's like they crapped in the room and they're acting like they don't smell anything.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay, being that I like to put it delicately. Will the statute of limitations run out on the Mueller report? Are there sealed indictments to prevent this?
100% sealed indictments. And there's something else here that they were telling me that there's some, for entertainment purposes only, there's some elements that borderline on treasonous acts against the United States.
Yes.
And so there, because some of these acts borderline on treason, there's no statute of limitations and they'll take care of that just fine. Yeah. Right.
And I'm telling you, he knows that Russia helped him he used a foreign, and it's weird because of Reality Winner stealing that thing to try to let everybody know, hey, that Russia helped. Oh, they put her in jail. She was this and that. There's people that worked with the Chinese didn't get as big as a punishment as her.
Very
and
true.
then, oh, she's horrible. She's a traitor. And then he does all this stuff and it's nothing to see here.
Right.
This is a nothing burger. But the good news is the voting people and the machines and the intel and the people who worked on, remember that guy, he got fired for saying the 2020 election was one of the safest elections that was ever done. And they fired him because, oh, no, see, it was a fraud. Can I ask you a question that's not on here?
Sure, you always can.
Will he ever have to say that, yes, it wasn't a fraud? Will he ever have to admit that there is no proof that this election was stolen from him?
No, to be honest with you, I think he'll end up passing and leaving the planet before that ever happens.
Okay. And I never saw him going to jail, but that's a whole different story.
No, it looks to me like he'll have a short runway of the next couple of years, 2-3 years, and then it's not good, health-wise.
He's going to get hit one thing after the other, and it's just too much.
It'll all come out after he's gone. He leaves the planet. It will all come out, and there'll be lots of books, and there'll be no uncertain terms about what happened during the election.
Right. But wherever the government is, they might dedicate one toilet to him. The Trump toilet. But somebody had wrote me that they thought that Mueller was not very good. And I think he's excellent. You can't tell me different. I really feel he did the best he could do considering Barr and everybody was on his rear. He kept thinking any moment now I'm going to get fired because, as you know, Trump kept saying, fire him. And they said, sir, it'll look bad. And I think he did, but he did go before the nation on live TV and said, yeah, if it was up to me, I would have arrested him, but it wasn't up to him.
Yeah, there's a lot of information in the Mueller report that got redacted right when it got released. And Mueller was smart enough. He'd been around, Congress and the DOJ and everything, and FBI long enough that, he couldn't force the hand of Barr.
No.
So that was a stone wall. So he took it as far as he could.
Well, listen, him and Barr and the family were friends. And for Barr to literally lie about what was in that report, that upset Mueller so much. That's why he came out in the open
right?
He came out in the open because he's like, no, that's not what my report says. He had to make a point of letting everyone know. And then that pretty well did it with him and Barr. Barr's still going down too, by the way. Does the GOP reform into less felonious party, leaving Trump collecting dust in the past, or are they replaced by a new conservative party, a more realistic, less slimy one?
Well, the metamorphosis is already occurring right now. The party's already fracturing, and people like Kinzinger and Cheney are kind of leading the charge. So that's one reason why you saw McConnell kind of change his tune as well, right? McConnell,
yes.
Now all of a sudden he validates that the January 6th insurrection was definitely a threat against democracy, and he changed his tune. But it's fracturing. So right now, the whole GOP party is going to move more moderate, but it's going to take a while. It's moving.
Right. Well, the thing is when those other people like, and that Fox News doesn't help. Mm-hmm. I see the guy that owns Fox News getting ready to cross pretty soon. I can't remember.
Rupert Murdoch.
But I see Fox News changing too, because this fact that they're over there, yay Russia and yay to the truckers, what the heck is that about?
Yeah, they still have that very extensive lawsuit against them for the Dominion voting machines as well too. It's going to start to change the policy. Yeah.
Here's another good question. In Siberia, there are an increasing number of extremely deep sinkholes appearing in the permafrost. Oh, I saw this too. And they are usually created by a spontaneous explosion. What is causing this and why? And is there any ET connection?
Good question. These questions are multi-layered. I have to give people credit. They're multi-layered.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So the permafrost is melting. There's some 10-15% of the permafrost in Siberia due to global warming. It's true. And as the permafrost is melting, it's releasing methane gas. And that's where the explosions are coming from. But over the next number of years to decade, because of the effects of global warming, we're going to see they'll have some kind of dangerous situation there where there'll be enough methane gas that ETs will get involved to try to vent that off. So we'll have some help in that area, but that's what's going on. Yeah. So the ETs aren't directly involved right now, but they will be inside 8 years, 10 years.
And I was even watching, might have been Nova. Did you see that? Where, what is those things that the whales like to eat? Krill, or what are they called? Those little tiny fishes, or they look like little shrimp.
Well, they're crustaceans, but
they're small. There's hundreds of millions of them.
Okay.
Their poop helps kind of get rid of things in the ocean and carbon and stuff. Mm-hmm. I didn't know. Who would guess? They're studying the poop of the whales, and it was so interesting. Right. I mean, I didn't plan on watching it, and it just caught my ear, and I was watching it. Okay, what is the history of the moon? The constant moon that monthly changes on a circled orb.
That's a good one. And I've read on this before. So here's what's interesting. Millions of years ago, the moon was moved into place by extraterrestrials. So it didn't start out that way with the dawn of the universe, but it was moved into place as kind of what I'll call a near way station for ET travel. So there are bases inside, and there's things that go on there. So that's the funniest part. The first time I read on, they're validating it now, was moved into place.
Wow. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, will Pompeo run for president, and will he win?
Well, yes and no. So he actually is going to run. He's going to make a run for president, but I see it being very short-lived. So that means like a couple of months or something.
I see everybody going, yeah.
And what's going to happen is he's not going to do very well debating, and he won't generate enough money. And then there's all these legal problems that will come up, and he can't get over it. So he drops out very quickly. It's almost like a blip in the frying pan. Yeah.
I know I told all my people that the other day I just had a flash. I didn't even ask for it. I saw Pompeo running for president.
Yeah, he's going to try.
So,
yeah. By the way, quick footnote, there were some pictures of him in the press. He lost a considerable amount of weight.
Well, he's not eating on the taxpayer's dime anymore.
There you go. But he looks like a completely different person. If you see the picture, you would not know it. So, I mean, I congratulate him on his health.
There
Looks
you
like
go.
he kind of took that seriously. I mean, good for him. Yeah.
I wonder if his wife also kind of took up with him. Probably usually couples do it together.
I would think so. I don't know. I don't know how he did it. I didn't read any articles, whether it was an operation or just good eating or what. I don't know. But
Yeah, I don't either. But he definitely, well, I just figured he wasn't eating on the taxpayer's dime anymore. Do you see anything? Oh, I want to ask you before we get to these last two. What do you see with right now with Russia and
Ukraine? I do see a skirmish and an event coming up very shortly here. And I took some time to kind of talk to my team about the whole thing. Here's what I get. I get, for some reason, for entertainment purposes only, our friend in Russia is going to try to put one toe over the line, so to speak, where that means he tries to go in 3 miles over the border. For some reason, my guides were saying he's not going to go 10 miles in. We're going to try to go like 3 miles in and then get shut down very quickly. But quickly means days or weeks. So it's, there's going to be a bit of a skirmish. And unfortunately, it's going to get a little brutal, but it looks like NATO and a lot of the nations jump in to stop it from going further. Now, also, one of my predictions, I think in January, my wife was reminding me of this, I saw Putin coming to the United States. So I wonder if that somehow is related to all this, that eventually there's some sort of a compromise reached and Putin and his team come to the US to talk to Biden or NATO meeting here. But I didn't, at the time when the predictions came up, I didn't understand why he would come to the US.
I just always saw him running. I saw people furious at him.
Yeah, but I think there's still some sort of diplomatic to end it when it finally ends. There'll be some sort of diplomatic chapter that everybody ends it in a meeting. So
because even what he's doing now, he's creating such chaos. Even though the Ukraine is trying to act like it's no biggie, nothing to see here, their economy is really struggling, and this is really hard. Russia took a wheat from the Ukraine and left most of the people starving during World War II. So, they're just being used, and they are so done with this. I almost got the feeling like, yeah, sucker, cross that line. I almost felt like they were like, nothing to see here, but we'll deal with it when we get to that, And it's not like they're acting like they know he won't do it. I'm almost feeling like, yeah, watch him. And we'll sacrifice ourselves. So he will be the enemy of the world.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that he had that meeting with President Xi of China, and I think that a lot of that meeting was about like, do whatever you're going to do, but don't mess up my Olympics because there's billions of dollars involved. So I know that
China's hurting right now too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely feel I had that absolute tower in my head. I was throwing the cards and it kept showing Biden and it kept showing Putin. And I'm thinking, what the heck? And it was the tower and the death card and the 8 of swords and something major, a conflict's going to happen. I thought, don't tell me Putin's stupid enough to cross the line, but it'll destroy him. It's going to destroy him. And he may cause so much chaos within his own nation that people are mad at him, because they'll go.
This is a desperate move because he already realizes he's on the way out. So on the way out, he wants his legacy in his own mind to be, I rebuilt the Soviet Union. He's trying to make his legacy rather than leaving in his own mind that I destroyed the Soviet Union and broke it up. So,
and also, they're very rich in agriculture, and that pipeline is going through them. So yeah, he's also thinking in terms of money. That's what the oligarchs are pushing him. Like, yeah, go in there so we can control this. Okay. Do you see anything coming up this week?
Yeah. So part of which we just touched on. So we're gonna see elements of that, whether it starts exactly this next week or the week after, because there's an Olympic tie-in there. So there's something going on there. I also see a bit of a security threat around the Super Bowl. I don't want to scare anybody, but it looks like it may not be very well advertised, but you'll hear about it after the fact. So there's something there that will get stopped. So I don't want to worry anybody, but you'll see it in the news days down the road here. I also saw a major push on the vaccine for children still to try to accelerate that time frame for children under 5. So even though they stopped the approval and they said now they have to wait till April, looks like they're going to try to expedite that to me. They're telling me. And I also saw a push towards a low-cost vaccine for underdeveloped nations around the world. So a big push now to get, vaccines that are made out of common chemicals. I'm not a doctor, but some sort of thing where you don't have to refrigerate it. And so that's coming this week, a big push as well. Yeah.
That's one thing you've been spot on with when we're going to have another, because, I saw the first one coming before it happened, but then after that, you even told me in private, it's the Delta was coming out, and you said, oh, and we both talked about it, and I didn't want to hear it, and then you predicted all these vaccines.
Yeah, but I like to give credit to my guides and angels, right? I like to.
Me too. That's who told me.
I like to take a step.
I knew it'd be more than one vaccine. I knew it'd be more than one, but not. Yeah, I think you've identified numerous.
Yeah, well, at least 4 vaccines and 2 to now 4 different pills that are coming for COVID. Yeah, exactly.
So, real quick before we do the very last question, how do you see the Queen's health?
How do I see the Queen's health? I'm concerned. I'm concerned, and you and I talked about this months ago as well. I never like to put this information out there, but I'm concerned. And
yeah, I'm almost feeling with the announcement she's made that she said she's kind of maybe they've even told her. You know what I'm saying? And no, she's sorting things out.
Yeah, and I believe that when the event happens, that Charles, he won't be in place. You and I talked about this as well too. I don't think Charles is in place with Camilla more than like 6 months, and then some other shift happens.
I always saw a short, but I don't think it's because he dies or anything. I think the people are just done with him.
It's a shift aside because the majority wants somebody else in place.
Right. Well, first of all, the UK has all that money without a decent dental plan. That's amazing. But also, the other day I was watching Robin Williams on Johnny Carson. He said, it's so funny. I sat there laughing out loud. He said, normally when you see a man, because he had met Diana and Charles, he said, when you see a man with ears like that, they're playing banjo in the Ozarks.
Terrible.
Oh, God, he was so funny. He was so funny.
You're very quick wit. Extremely.
Yeah, I just have a feeling that, people they're not going to accept Camilla. I don't know why.
Yeah, but I never saw it with the Camilla factor, although that's coming in, but I always saw that Charles would be in there for about 6 months and then he'd get swapped out. So
he had to even present something or say some things and they're like, dude, go.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Now, the last question. Do you have anything you guys want to share?
They do. And it's very appropriate, I think. Share your wisdom and love with the world and those around you, because the world needs it right now. So that means that, it's kind of coming from a space of love and spirituality. Make sure you kind of push that around, because it has an effect that propagates out like a stone in a pond. So as you do it, it propagates out and helps a lot of other people. Yeah.
Wonderful. Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, so always fun.
Happy.
And I always have to say, just real quickly, my wife always reminds me that if anyone wants to book a session, it's just sterlingpsychicmedium.com, and it's the book a session tab. There you go.
And tell your wonderful wife I said hello.
I will.
You guys, are you just going to chillax and hang out and watch it?
You know what? We actually both took Monday off, and we're just going to have a nice, enjoyable Valentine's Day. We haven't done, something like that for a long time. So
for a long time. Oh, yeah. That's wonderful. Yeah. Happy Valentine's Day to you guys.
And happy Valentine's Day to you too. Yeah.
Thank you. I got myself something for myself. Actually, I'm cooking a delicious stew. Too bad you guys couldn't be up here. I'm cooking it in that pot she got me.
We'll be there in 10 minutes.
Yeah, there you go. All right, you guys. All right. Love you all.
All the best. Take care.